Welcome to RMAC Baseball Weekly. I'm the media man. That's the RMAC Insider. Shout out to Dean Allen for filling in for me last week. I was a bit under the weather, but feeling better this week. Mr. Insider, how are you?
I'm glad you're back. Dean did a great job, while you were kind of tending to some coaching responsibilities. So definitely thank Dean for that. He did absolutely amazing. And then, of course, we had Robert Fry on with D2 Baseball as well. That was great. So, yeah, it was fun. Good episode. But yeah, definitely glad you're back and nice to, yeah, kind of things back to normal. And here we go.
Yeah, and here we go. We had a great weekend of baseball in the RMAC. But first, let's take a look at the RMAC standings. Colorado Mesa and the Roadrunners of Metro Denver have clinched their RMAC tournament baseball berth. After that, that's where things get interesting. The UCCS Mountain Lions and the Thunderwolves of CSU Pueblo are in third and fourth. Then you've got Colorado School of Mines, the Rangers of Regis, the Grizzlies of Adams State, the Cougars of Colorado Christian, and the New Mexico Highlands Cowboys are in a four-way tie for the final spot in the RMAC tournament. After a big weekend for a lot of these teams, we take a look at the rankings
So just before we go on
real
to the
quick. Yeah,
rankings,
go
yeah,
ahead.
sorry. So, I know that, this is showing, this is just off of the RMAC website, the standings and, showing Mesa and MSU Denver clinching spots in the RMAC tournament. But if you look at, I mean, there's only 2 weeks left here. So basically 8 games. Both Mesa and Colorado School of Mines have buys yet. Mesa has a bye this week. Colorado School of Mines the last week. So the others just have 8 games. If you take a look at UCCS's record, in order for like if Regis, Adams State, Colorado Christian, New Mexico Highlands, if they were to any of those were to win out, right? 8 plus 5, you're going to get to 13. Well, they're not going to catch, UCCS. So even though the graphic here shows, just Mesa and Denver as clinching, UCCS by my math, and I think, really anyone else's math, they've clinched as well. With Pueblo, I think they're just one win away from clinching, and Colorado Mines 2 wins, and they'll clinch. And yeah, we'll see how that, bottom, four there with, how they fare out in getting that sixth and final spot. And yeah, it's gonna be interesting last 2 weeks, that's for sure.
It definitely will be. It will be a lot of things happening in the RMAC as well. When we talk about UCCS, Coach Hijic announcing he will be retiring at the end of the season. That guy has taken this program, rebuilt it from the ground up, and this is a playoff team. This is a team that could make a very deep run in the playoffs should they get into that South Central Regional
Definitely,
playoff games.
definitely. They got the pitching to do that, and then obviously the power in the lineup to make a. I mean, that's how you make runs in tournaments. The good combination to have. So
Absolutely, definitely a great combination as we take a look at the rankings. The Mavericks of Colorado Mesa remain at the top, but don't look now. But there's a few teams that could be making MSU Denver receiving votes. There's some teams that are starting to receive some votes here out of the RMAC.
yeah, and I think that UCCS is going to be very close to receiving votes, and I think we have a very good series coming up with UCCS and MSU Denver this weekend, and I think well that series will kind of dictate who we see receiving votes and who might make crack the top 25 sooner rather than later.
Yeah, after a big weekend, you have another big weekend ahead of you. It's going to be a big one this weekend as we look at the D2 baseball rankings. Their rankings have the Mavericks sitting alone at the top after obviously an impressive start to the year. Definitely think you could see a bit of a shakeup this week.
Yeah, and here MSU Denver was at what 24 in the D2 baseball rankings, last week, but they had that rough series against Pueblo, at home. I don't know that too many people were, anticipating, how that series played out, but as a result, they did drop out of the top 25 rankings for D2 baseball.
Yeah, and I think with what the series is gonna like, what the series we have this weekend, I think you're gonna see a lot of shakeup. You know, a lot of these teams are starting to play each other. They're starting to play other ranked opponents. I think you're going to see a lot of changes come to the rankings when it comes to both the D2 rankings and the NCBWA rankings as well. As we look at go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to take a look at the regional rankings. So the regional rankings, they're, obviously the RMAC is in the South Central region, and with the NCBWA rankings, there's always going to be the regional rankings now at this point, and Mesa obviously is in first place in the regional rankings. We see MSU Denver coming in at 5 and UCCS coming in at 7. Now, when we start talking about the regional and national playoff tournament, it's going to be the top 6 teams that are going to make that tournament. Obviously, Mesa would end up hosting, and then UT Tyler would end up hosting under this scenario. Um, if both those teams win, Carl Mesa would then host that super regional against UT Tyler, after that. However, this is just the rankings. And what I also have here, Jace, is from Inkblot. Now, Inkblot, I don't know if our listeners are not following Inkblot on social media, you definitely need to go do that. This guy is kind of a little mathematician. He, kind of is familiar with all the different formulas that are used by the playoff committee in determining what teams are going to make the playoffs and who are, will not, kind of based on strength of schedule, what your in region win record is, what, how the teams that you have played, how they've been doing. It is pretty remarkable, all the calculations that go into this. But he does a phenomenal job in more or less predicting how the playoff and who's going to make that playoff tournament. And yeah, it's just impressive. But so what he has right here is basically Colorado Mesa being that only team from the RMAC making it. Now, obviously, we got 2 weeks to go, and UCCS and MSU Denver will be playing each other, and they have good records, so that's going to help their strength of schedule. I would definitely anticipate that there'll be another RMAC team making the national tournament. I guess we'll see how that plays out. But as of now, kind of way the metrics are working, and according to Inkblot, who really I put a lot of weight and credibility into, it's Mesa, in that number 1 spot, which then puts them in that position to host the super regional. They win that first round of that regional tournament.
Absolutely, and they're playing 2 very good teams in St. Mary's and Lubbock Christian, and then down below you got UT Tyler, Angelo State, and St. Edwards. All those programs that you see on the screen right now are very, very good programs. They're programs that have playoff experience, that have guys, that have coaches that have been in the playoffs. It's nothing new to these guys. Obviously, Angelo State won national championship a couple years back. So, I mean, it's not going to be an easy road no matter who makes it.
No, the Lone Star Conference always has, very good baseball programs. I mean, UT Tyler has been, at the top of that the last, 2-3 years. Just an impressive program there. Angelo State, yeah, they're extremely good. So it's always interesting, in that regional round to see how that all plays out.
Absolutely. And as you take a look at the last weekend series, we'll start off with the team that played out of conference, Colorado Christian, taking on Fort Hays. They get the win in game 1, 11-5, behind good pitching of 5 innings pitched, 4 runs, 3 runs earned, 2 walks, 2 strikeouts from TJ. I believe that says McCraw.
McCraw, yep. Yeah, I mean, in this one, obviously, Colorado Christian, they kind of jumped out to that 2-0, lead, but then it kind of ended up being kind of a back and forth affair here for a little bit. Fort Hays mashed that in the bottom. Colorado Christian, behind a Lucas Hinsey home run in the third, then regains that lead, but then bottom of the third, Hayes ties it right back up. Nathan Menson doubles in the fifth, and then Nathan Owens homers in the fifth for a 2-run home run, and they take a 7-3 lead. Going into the sixth inning, and they kind of just take care of business in this one and get this 11-8 win, or excuse me, 11-5 win.
Yeah, and I mean that 4 spot you see in the fifth and the 3 you see in the sixth. That when you put up a big crooked number like that, 4-3, that's really what changes everything. I think a lot of teams they get those crooked numbers and maybe let off the gas pedal. Colorado Christian did not. They get the win of game 1 against Fort Hays. Take a look at game 2. Fort Hays takes care of business here to split the series. So then game 3 was going to come down to who would win the series. But in game 2, I mean, Fort Hays, they just scored nonstop.
Yeah, and Colorado Christian, they jumped out to a 6-2 lead after the top of the second, and unfortunately they just couldn't keep Fort Hays down. And yeah, good bottom of the fifth for Fort Hays, bringing in 4 runs. I mean, that's gonna basically carry them to that 11-9 win in game 2.
Yeah, definitely a tough series to get that one. Fort Hays had some hitters, a 2-run home run, along with another 2-run home run in the second and in the first to tie the game, then to cut the lead to 6-4. And from there on out, it was Fort Hays' bats that would carry them to the victory. So game 3 would decide the winner, and Fort Hays is going to be the winner of this series after they led 3-1 after the second inning. But you know how the bats go.
Yep. In the sixth inning, Landry Ham, he had a RBI double, and then Gregory Rangel had an RBI single, and they take a 6-4 lead. Excuse me, after the sixth inning, they basically have a where we at an 8-4 lead. Excuse me, and then yeah, but at that point they just couldn't kind of hold on to that. They come back. 48 comes back. They basically win it in the bottom of the eighth inning there, and take that 9-8 win. And then win the series 2-1, which yeah, kind of devastating for Colorado Christian. But when you're going on the road, Colorado Christian going to Fort Hays over to Kansas, and it's tough to win on the road, and it's different environment and atmosphere over there. But Colorado Christian, they got that first one. Just would have been nice if they'd been able to at least get this last one here to take that series. But unfortunately, that's the way the ball rolls sometimes.
Yeah, and Fort Hays has played a lot of the RMAC teams. We've seen them a few times throughout the year. The Cowboys faced Fort Hays. Colorado Christian here facing Fort Hays. A lot of RMAC teams Fort Hays plays throughout the year coming out of their conference.
Let's take a look at the next game then, or the next series, I should say.
Colorado School of Mines taking on the Mountain Lions of UCCS, and the Mountain Lions, they handle business in game 1.
Yeah, this whole series. So Trevor Dale, who we see here. I mean, he starts this off with a 2 RBI triple, and he just had an amazing series. We'll kind of talk about that a little bit as we get going here. But then Bryce Peterson, he comes up, he hits a grand slam in the bottom of the second. Also in the bottom of the second, Tyson Mayberry, he's going to come up next. He's going to hit a solo home run. Talk about putting crooked numbers up. I mean, we get into the bottom or the top of the third, and UCCS is already leading 8-0, and that's a recipe for a win right there. So we also have Tyson Mayberry. Talked about him hitting that home run in the bottom of the second. Well, he comes up in the bottom of the fifth, and he hits a 2-run home run. And then of course we have Trevor Dale. He's going to come up in the bottom of the fifth as well, and he's going to hit a solo shot to go along with his triple. Yeah, and UCCS just like I talked about before, they have that power in that lineup, and they put that on display in this one. Take this one 19-4.
Yeah, they take the game 1 19-4, and that momentum carried into game 2 as we take a look at game 2 here of this series. 15-8 in 7 innings. I mean, obviously the double headers on the Saturdays are only 7 innings, But once again, the power was there, the pitching was there. I mean, this is a complete UCCS team. We talked about it. They're sitting at third in the rankings. This is going to be a dangerous team come RMAC tournament time.
Yeah, and kind of looking at those stats here, Trevor Dale, another, uh, actually had another home run here. Had Bryce Peterson, another home run. Um, yeah, they're just dangerous. In this series, Trevor Dale actually uh, not only tied the UCCS single season home run record, but he broke it, and he has 2 weeks left to go of games to continue on that. I think the right now he's at 23 home runs on the season, and yeah, he's just gonna wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't get at least four more by the route or the way that he's going.
Yeah, he's currently sitting at second in the country in home runs. He was also named Player of the Week at Division Two as he takes, according to this, with a 5-homer weekend, he takes the Division Two home run lead. And I mean, just a phenomenal series for the Mountain Lions. As we take a look at Game 3 of this series, Mountain Lions take Game 3 as well.
They do, and this one was kind of in dramatic fashion here. We, see Carl School of Mines, they jump on top early, but Trevor Dale, here's another, 3-run home run for him. And then in the bottom of the third, Bryce Peterson, he has a 3-run home run. Yeah, I mean, those guys are just phenomenal players. We get into the top of the fifth, Jackson Babcock, he homers to right center for Carl School of Mines. Then in the top of the sixth, Tyler Easter, he hits a 2-run home run for Mines. And then the top of the seventh, Evan Bilter, he hits a 2-run home run for Mines. But then, UCCS are just a lot of firepower. In the bottom of the seventh, you'll see Tyler Genrich coming up to the plate. He's going to hit a 2-run home run to tie this game at 15-15. Well, Carl School of Mines is going to, basically take the lead at 16-15, but we'll go to the bottom of the ninth and we'll have Tyler Genrich coming up to the plate again here, and he's going to walk it off, with a home run right here. And yeah, they're going to end up taking this one again, 17-16, take game 3. And yeah, just continue to roll.
They capture the series victory, or that would clinch the series for them 17-16 in 9 innings. Obviously, the 2 middle games are 7 series, so this one went into extras, went into 9. They get the win, they capture the series, and then game 4, the Mountain Lions, they took care of business, getting the win 8-4 behind Joe McDermott, who in 6 innings pitched, 8 hits, 2 runs, 2 earned, no walks, 2 strikeouts, and they get the victory 8-4 in game 4.
Yeah, very solid series for UCCS. They definitely needed this coming off of that series against Mesa. Yeah, they look good, and I think they're kind of where they want to be going into a big series this weekend against MSU Denver.
Yeah, and as we talk about Mesa, they took on the Regis Rangers. They would get the sweep in this one, but in game 1, Mavericks, they were just all over it.
Yeah, Rocco DiFrancesco, he gets the Mavericks on the board first, the bottom of the second with a 2 RBI single. Cameron Cartwright, he does his thing. He gets a solo shot to left center. Then Landon Nunez, he's going to follow up with a 2-run, home run, basically giving Mesa a comfortable 5-0 lead after 3. Then we're going to take a look at in the bottom of the 6th here. Just watch this play by Regis shortstop George Smith. Just nice over the shoulder catch. Just impressive. Absolutely impressive.
Yeah. Absolutely beautiful play, but it was not going to be enough as the Mavericks took care of business here in game 1, getting a 12-0 victory via the run rule in 7. I mean, I don't know what else to say about Colorado Mesa. We've said it all week long, all year long. This is just one of the best teams in the country. They are sitting at number 1 in the nation. I I don't know what else to say really about him.
Yeah, I mean Caleb Reuter, just phenomenal pitcher. He's having a great season. Glad to see it. I think he's going to be probably the front runner for the Pitcher of the Year award. Yeah, hoping that he, you know, fully expect him to keep pitching, great and keep that going into that regional round of the national tournament.
Right, and then game 2 of the series, the Mavericks, they do their thing.
Yeah, I mean here, in the top of the fourth, MSU Denver, or excuse me, Regis ends up tying this game at 1-1. But then in the bottom of the fourth, Lazy, he hits a 3-run home run. And then in the bottom of the sixth, we have uh, Colby Felix hitting a grand slam. And yeah, they just end up taking this one, by a score of 9-2. And it kind of messed up the box score on this one. But yeah, you can see Felix with the grand slam, Blazy with the 3 RBIs for the game. And yeah, they just roll. They're just a great team. I mean, Rocco Harmon, he's been having a good year for Regis, and yeah, they just get it done against everybody.
They handle the business there as we head to game 3 of this series. This one was a little bit different for the Mavericks and the Rangers.
Yeah, a little tighter, and I think it's good for Mesa to kind of have these games as well. But Colby Felix kind of starts it off with a 2 RBI single to center. Then Cartwright, he's going to get a nice sacrifice fly, bringing in Colby to make it 3-0, and then in the bottom of the fifth, Colby gets another home run, make it 4-0, and the bullpen, out there, we're gonna see them kind of go crazy doing their a little happy dance, and Mesa ends up taking this one 4-0. I'm not sure
Yeah,
why I keep messing up. Oh, here we go. Yeah, 4
there we go. Yep. 4-0 win for the Mavericks. Obviously, the tighter game. Jackson Eisenhower gets his 7th win on the season. And the Mavericks, they continue to roll as they head into game 4. Just Mavericks. I mean, 10 runs. They were able to put up a lot of crooked numbers in this one. 2 in the second, 5 in the third, and another 6 in the sixth. They put up 3 more. That was going to be ultimately enough to get the win over the Rangers and clinch the series, sweep the series 4-0 for the Rangers, or for the Mavericks over the Rangers.
Yep. And, we saw Eisenhower, in game 3 have a great game. True freshman, same thing here. Simon Lunsford, freshman, taking the mound, starting for Mesa. I mean, just impressive the talent that Mesa has, on the team, not only in, upperclassmen, but also, the freshmen and sophomores as well. They, just have guys that can get it done. And then, Rocco DiFrancesco, double and a home run. Just, love that guy, love his name. And yeah, just, it's fun to watch this team. That's for sure.
Yeah, they handle business. They get the sweep. The next series was one that I don't think a lot of people saw this one playing out the way it did.
No, I don't think, many people saw it going this way at all. I mean, top of the first here, Jake Hicksonbaugh, gets a home run to get Pueblo going. But in the bottom of the fourth, Alex Martinez, he doubles to left center, basically putting MSU Denver in the lead. But then in the top of the fifth, we have Hicksonbaugh again. He doubles to left center, bringing in 2 runs. Pueblo then takes a 4-2 lead at that point, and then the top of the eighth, we have Dax Howard hitting a 3-run, home run to right center, and yeah, Pueblo ends up taking game 1 here by a score of 11-4.
Yeah, 11-6 ends up being
Or
the
6.
final.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, you're good. The Thunderwolves, they pull off what a lot of people didn't see coming, and that was a win in this series. The win goes to Cole Bloomer, and the save goes to Jack Novak of the Thunderwolves as they get the win. Syverson goes 6 1/3, 5 hits, 5 runs, 5 of those earned, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. Just sometimes you just hit a guy. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, with the year that Syverson's having, little surprising. for him to give up 5, earned runs. But yeah, when you play in the RMAC, that's just how it goes some days. But yeah, phenomenal pitcher. He's having a great year. Um, yeah, it just wasn't his best performance this year. But
Absolutely. As we head into game 2, this one was going to be Roadrunners. This one was going to go the way of the Roadrunners here in this one.
yeah, basically, the bottom of the second, MSU Denver's Blake Wilson, he singles, bringing in 2 runs. And the bottom, still in the bottom of the second, Brooks Rasmussen, he is going to hit a 2-run home run, making it 5-1. Then Blake Wilson, again in the bottom of the third, hits a 2-run home run to make it 7-1. And then Cooper Latino caps off the 4th inning with a solo home run. And but MSU Denver ends up taking this game 2 by a score of 10-3.
Yeah, they took game 2 10-3, and it was enough for them to keep the ball rolling. I mean, you see the numbers on the screen there. I mean, this is a team, when they're hot, they're going to stay hot. And Syverson, he was player of the week or pitcher of the week last week. He struggled, but then Maltos Garcia comes in. He goes a complete game, giving up 9 hits, 3 runs, 2 of those earned, no walks, and 6 Ks. I mean, just had a phenomenal day on the mound. And then the bats helped him out. They head into game 3 with all the momentum, and that's a tough team to stop. When they've got the momentum, it's going to be tough. But right here, CSU Pueblo, I mean, they handled business in this one.
Yeah, they took it to them. You kind of see some of the same guys you kind of hear about over and over with Jake Hicksonbaugh. He had a double in the game, going 2 for 4. You have Cooper Latino going 2 for 4 with a double. Jimmy Pelletier, he had a 3-run home run. He had a really good series. Pelletier. He told me how to pronounce it. I promised him I'd get it right this week, and I'm still butchering it. But Pelletier, little different.
There you go.
But then you have Dax Howard. He's having a good year. 1 for 3 with a double, 2 runs scored. Yeah, they get it done. Frank Flores Jr. Good pitcher. He's having a good year for Pueblo, and this was really the series that Pueblo needed to kind of get that series that I was expecting them to have. The last 5 weeks. But.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and it's tough to stop a team that's hot, but CSU Pueblo, they take the series with a 12-6 win here. They capture the series win. They get 3 wins on the road in the Mile High City. Hard thing to do, but nonetheless, they go into the Mile High City. They take 3 games from the Roadrunners. And if you're the Roadrunners, you're kind of sitting back going, okay, this is different. What do we need to do as they head into this week with a tough series, as you mentioned? But right here, CSU Pueblo gets the win 12-6.
Yep. And, glad to see Alex Oliver have a, good outing and kind of some middle relief here. He's, my opinion, a great pitcher, and, glad to see him, get that W.
And that brings us to our guest, Cowboy shortstop, Lubby Marrujo. Lubby, how are you on this fine, what is it, Wednesday? Yeah, Wednesday.
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
We're doing phenomenal, man. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for coming on to talk a little bit about this series that you guys just had. Absolutely phenomenal series. Before we get to your numbers, because your numbers were outstanding, talk about the pitching staff. The pitching staff has struggled a little bit this year, but you get 3 complete games out of 3 different pitchers. Talk about what you feel like the keys for the Cowboys pitching staff was this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, 3 complete games. Friday shutout, that's huge for the weekend to start us off, and then put us into game 2 and 3, another 2 more complete games. That just set the tone for us. Our pitching staff is really good, and not having to go into the bullpen, a lot of guys missed out on some work, so we are getting some work in today, but it was good to save some of the arms, deep in the season. It's been tough with the injuries and stuff, and shout out Andrew Baltazar getting pitcher of the week. He was phenomenal. And then, just our pitching staff was amazing.
Yeah, Andrew Baltazar earns the Pitcher of the Week honors, but Lubby, you on the weekend, you hit 692, 9 for 13 on the series. You scored 7 runs, had 7 RBIs, and also posted a 7.33 on base percentage in the 4-game series. For you at the plate, that ball had to seem like it was a beach ball coming in. What were your keys? What was your mindset going through into this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, I was just trying to get good pitches to hit. Coach Jones likes to he talks to us about a lot about of our approach and just seeing good pitches and taking advantage of those when you get them. You know, because there's good pitchers in this conference too. So you gotta take advantage of when you do get them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll let Mr. Insider ask you a couple questions here as well.
Yeah, and so Lovey, yeah, thank you for coming on. Really appreciate it, and can't thank you enough. Jace and I have kind of talked a lot about New Mexico Highlands baseball this season. Kind of looking, at the beginning of the RMAC play, you guys, were traveling to Grand Junction to take on Mesa, and you had some really good games there. I mean, that first one was just a 10-9, game. You lost by 1, and then the next one, 7-3. Final one was 3-4. I mean, you're right in those games with really the number one team in the nation right now, and you kind of saw that kind of continuing. Like Carl School of Mines, dropped that first one by 1 run, the second game by 2. It seems like you're in all these games and just kind of falling up a little short. But kind of going into this weekend, you go in and you get that series sweep. I guess kind of what has kind of been the mindset of the team. When you are having this season where you guys are just right there, and just not seeming to quite break through, and then you have this series where you kind of get that accomplished. I guess I kind of a couple part question here. Like, is there any point along the way where you're like, man, we just need to somehow finish these games off, and then how rewarding is that feeling after this last weekend going 4-0 sweep?
Yeah, it's been a tough year. Losing a lot of one-run games, two-run games to some good teams too. So we know we can compete with a lot of teams and play with them, but it's the matter of finishing especially in late innings. And this was our most complete series we've played all year. Defensively, pitching was great. Offense, we've been swinging it, and I think just looking at standings and stuff, it's either now or never, to put us back in the mix. So looking at last weekend against Adams, we really had to play our best baseball, and I think we did.
Yeah, I mean, it was great in all facets. I mean, pitching, hitting, defense. Of course, that's how you win games. But coming off of this 4-game sweep, now we're gonna you're gonna be looking at Regis and Colorado Christian, and obviously kind of tied with them right now, along with Adam State for that 6th spot in the RMAC tournament. Obviously, you'll have the tiebreaker against Adam State, but what is the kind of the sense or feeling of the team kind of going into these last couple weeks against Regis and Colorado Christian, and the thoughts of getting into that RMAC tournament?
Yeah. So for all of us, including Regis, Carter Christian, Adams, it's 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 now or never. We have to. Everyone's going to be trying to play their best baseball and come at you with everything they got. I know for us, we want to make the conference tournament. We haven't done it in a while. In the 5 years I've been here, we haven't made it. So that's something that we're really eager to do, and we're just trying to play our best baseball at the end right now and give us a shot.
Yeah, Lubby, what has kind of been the message from Coach Jones this week? You guys come off a 4-0 sweep. You guys are probably feeling, the best you guys have felt all year in terms of coming off that sweep. What has Coach Jones' message been to the team this week?
So the big thing that he's been talking about is it being senior week too. He wants us to stay focused, and like I know there's a lot of distractions coming up. Me being at my last series at home and being from Las Vegas, last time I got to play in front of family and friends and my community. He's really instilling that we just need to stay focused and keep doing what we've been doing leading up to this, because the last few weeks of baseball have been pretty good for us. We've fallen short, but we've been playing a lot better baseball. So yeah, I guess just staying focused and just being hungry, wanting to win.
as an upperclassman here, I mean, being a fifth year player, on the team, uh, what is it that you see your role as trying to make sure that, hey, with all the distractions going on this week, I'm following a 4 game sweep, and then with senior week, things like that. Uh, how do you go about making sure that the team and the players are staying focused, staying grounded, not getting too high off the wind, and making sure that they're ready to go for first pitch against Regis?
Mhm. Yeah, that's the one thing about this team is we have a pretty mature team of all the years I've played. So I think a lot of them understand the situation that we're in and how important each game is from here on out, and just staying level headed and just keep grinding like today and the last few weeks or last few days throughout the week, and just trying to practice hard and keep going.
Absolutely. As we take a look at that series, Lubby, we'll kind of jump into some of these highlights. Talk us through kind of, what you felt and what you saw from this team this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, you got to give a lot of credit to pitching, especially in the RMAC. It's tough to pitch in this conference, and the 3 complete games, all of our starters doing really well. We've Coach Jones is a great hitting coach, and his approach and him talking to us is it makes hitting a lot easier, especially throughout my years. So I appreciate that of him and always helping us. And then defensively, just trying to back up our pitchers. We struggle a little bit here and there, so just trying to play clean baseball. Coach Jones always talks about never letting the ball hit the ground, so that's something we try to instill and do always.
And just kind of looking at the highlights from this first game of the series against Adams State, I mean, the last three highlights we had here, first one was a double RBI double to right field that you hit. The next one was a RBI double to left field that you hit, and then we have an RBI or three RBI double that you hit to right center. Uh, three RBI or excuse me, three doubles in one game. That's pretty impressive. Kind of like Jay said, I mean, that ball just had to look, like a beach ball.
Yeah, I was just trying to get good pitches. Shout out our offense for a lot of the guys going 2 for 4 and having big hits, being on base, and just having great at bats, quality at bats all weekend is what we talk about.
Yeah, Lubby, talk us through that last at bat. Okay, you got bases loaded, you're 2 outs. You know that, if you put a ball in the gap, more than likely all of these runs are going to score. You had pretty good speed at second and third. You had really good speed in Castaneda at first. Just kind of talk us through that last at bat that you had where that third double you had that had all those RBIs that ended the game. Talk us through that at bat.
Yeah, so I remember early in the count, I go down 0-2. I ended up going. I think it's 2-2, and I saw like 8 pitches, and I was just fouling stuff off, and just they were pitching me pretty well in that at bat, and I was just trying to get a good pitch to hit, and I got a pitch up and away, and I just drove it the other way. Something that we love to preach at Highlands.
Absolutely. And you guys take that first game 12-0. You guys head into game two. And I mean, you guys just kept the momentum rolling.
Yeah, they definitely did. And Ryan, Rodriguez, he had a good game two here. He's gonna get uh, New Mexico Highlands the lead, 6-2 in the bottom of the second here with a double to left center. Then Taiga Sato, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that.
Sato. Taiga
Mhm.
Sato. Yep.
Sato, he's apologize. Sorry,
Yeah.
Taiga. He had a good game as well, getting a RBI double to left center. Nico Hilger, he had a great series. I think he went maybe 9 for 14 for the series, if I remember correctly. But he gets a 3-run home run here, and you guys end up basically taking this one 15-4 to take a 2-0 lead uh, in the series.
Yeah. That was just another great team win. We swung it well. Brion's been good all year, and we've for him it's kind of been tough. We've haven't swung it the great. Some days he's pitched and he does really well, so that's been tough. So it was nice to give him 10 runs in the early innings right away and lets him pitch a lot free because he's a great pitcher, and that was and then offensively, we just kept swinging it. Our in the top of the order are just tough outs or they put great at bats together, and they always have a lot of good swings throughout the weekend.
Yeah, and Lubby, you hit it right on the head, man. I mean, when you guys can get a big lead, it allows your pitchers, Brion, Baltazar, Reyes, Welsher, whoever it may be on the mound, Gates, McCree. It allows your pitchers to kind of open up the arsenal and just kind of let them pitch a little more freely. And you guys definitely did that here in game two. You guys get the big win 15-4, and you guys just you rode that momentum, you rode that wave throughout the weekend. You know, obviously Tyga had a good weekend, Nico had a good weekend. Obviously, you had a phenomenal weekend. Just kind of a complete team win, as you said. I mean, you nailed it right on the head, man. I got nothing else.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not only that, but with Brion, gotta say he's a phenomenal pitcher. He's having a great year. In this game, complete game and second straight or consecutive complete game by the Highlands pitching staff, and like I said, there's three of them. But yeah, Brion, I don't know if you can really say enough about the kid. He's absolutely phenomenal and having a great year. The record 2-5. Nothing. I mean, doesn't even come close to telling the story of how good of a year he's had, and I think just the phenomenal potential that he has in his career going forward here. So
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
as we head into game three, Lubby, you guys have the series lead. You knew this was the game that was going to clinch the series. What was the mindset for the team really in this one?
I think for us, Coach Jones always he talks about staying focused. We knew Reyes was going to give us a good start. He's been good for us all year. He's been a little unlucky, but with some injuries and stuff like that. But his stuff's really good, and we just take it pitch by pitch. He always tells us to stay in the game no matter what. We're a team that we don't give up easily. We always fight back no matter the score, and we just try to just try to play clean baseball. That's like the main talk this year and the last few weeks.
yeah, and
Yeah.
Tandem Wed Tate, he's having a good year, as well. He gets a you know solo home run in the bottom of the sixth, kind of give an insurance run to help seal that 4-2 win. And yeah, Anthony Reyes getting that third consecutive complete game for the Highlands pitching staff. I mean, just yeah, great weekend for the Highlands pitching staff for sure.
Yeah, you guys, I mean, the pitching staff looked phenomenal, Lubby. I mean, you can't say enough about them. I mean, like you said, they've been unlucky here and there, but Ray is getting the second win on the year. I mean, what was the what how much juice was really running through you guys after getting those three complete games?
I mean, yeah, we had a lot of energy. We were feeling good about ourselves. We haven't. It's been a while since Highlands has swept a series, especially in RMAC play. Probably a good 5 years. I'm not too sure, or maybe even longer. I don't know. Before me for sure. And our dugout has a lot of energy. We play with a lot of energy, so sometimes we got to stay level headed a little bit sometimes because we get a little crazy there. But it's great. Our team plays with a lot of energy and a lot of passion.
Yeah, last time the Cowboys swept was 2021. So definitely a big kind of pick me up with this series here. And then game four, Lubby, you were 3 for 4. You scored 4 runs. You had 2 RBIs and a double. I mean, and then really the rest of the lineup, they continued to do what they do.
Yeah, we were just trying to get good pitches to hit. That's what we preach. Not swinging at bad pitches. Some of us we get into habit. We'll get two. We'll be 2 for 2 on the day and take a bad swing here and there. And Coach Jones really preaches that just to stay locked in always at the plate.
And Jonathan Davis, he had a great game this fourth game here. He had started off with a 3-run home run, then he gets a 2 RBI double, gets a another double in the third. Just a huge game from him, and you kind of help add on to that lead, making it 20-8 in the bottom of the sixth with yet another double this series for you, bringing in two runs, and you guys end up taking this one like very comfortably, 21-8, and yeah, I get that series sweep. Just impressive job.
Yeah, piled on 18 hits on the day. And, Jimmy Welsher got the start, got the win. Caden Gates came in with 2 1/3 of innings of relief, just, you know, your pitching staff, you hadn't used a lot of arms, so you were kind of able to use the pen here in this one. And then you also have Damon McCree, who closed out the game, closed the door with 1 2/3 scoreless innings on that one, and you guys take the series sweep. So now you guys look ahead, okay, right? You take it one day at a time, right? You look ahead to this weekend series against Regis. Obviously you talked about the message from Coach Jones is stay focused. If you guys go into this one and you guys can pull off a series win, you guys are still in the playoff hunt. How hard is it to not think ahead of the next series when you've got a big series this weekend? Obviously, senior weekend, it's going to be a very emotional weekend for you, being the Las Vegas native, graduating from Robertson right down the road, currently where I'm coaching at. And just, how do you keep the emotions in check, I guess, is what I'm trying to ask.
No, yeah. I think taking it game by game, obviously it's not easy to not look ahead and look at some of the situations and what would happen if this team won or that. But I think taking it game by game and just trying to understanding that we have to win, to keep playing the RMAC tournament. And as of lately, we've been playing pretty good baseball, all the way around. So I think just staying focused and trying to carry over our energy from last week and what we did this past weekend and how we can instill it into this game on the upcoming series against Regis.
And there has to be a certain level of confidence I would think that the team would have kind of going into, this series against Regis with, really how well as, you guys have played throughout the season, just kind of coming up short, but, in quite a few games by, like we said, 1-2 runs, but then, finally kind of breaking through and having a good all-around performance against Adams State. Is there, I guess that, not, I guess, overconfidence, but that feeling amongst the team that, yeah, we can do this. We can, sweep Regis and keep this thing rolling.
Yeah, for sure. Coming into this weekend, we have a lot more confidence than we'd had. We had some tough luck, like you were saying, with coming up short in the previous weekends, which is, it's an awful feeling losing by one continuously throughout the year. And, Regis they're a great program. Last year we played them for their senior night, and they're a good team. They're going to come out and, they can always swing it throughout every year I've been. So we're going to have to come out and play our best baseball against them.
And I think that's kind of been, kind of what I've been telling, Jace quite a bit this season is that it seems like you guys just haven't, figured out a way to, play to your potential as opposed to, it seems like you're kind of playing to the opponent's potential. But boy, this weekend, I think or last weekend, excuse me, definitely played up to your potential. I mean, 12-0 in that game one, 15-4 in, game two, 21-8 in game four. I mean, to me, that's, showing that you guys have kind of figured out that, yeah, we are very talented team and we can, put runs up and, not only play with anybody, but we could, beat people pretty good too. So I guess not really a question there. Just want to say, congratulations on that huge win. Just very happy for you, being a fifth year, player there. And yeah, just glad to see you guys kind of playing to your potential.
Yeah. I appreciate that.
And Lubby, man, it brings me such joy to see you doing your thing, man. We were teammates for a year. I've been here as long as you've been here, and we've become pretty good friends over the years, man. And it's always good to see you doing your thing, man. And we're gonna walk a stage together here pretty soon, so I'm excited about that too, buddy.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And, much love, Jace, for everything over the years and this year. And, I appreciate you always.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man. Hey, thank you for joining us. We know you got to get, so we appreciate you joining us. And, man, much love. Go keep doing your thing, kid. Keep doing your thing.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you. 2 weekends left. Go get it done.
Thank you. We'll see you.
Yeah, thank you, Lubby, for joining us, man. And that takes us into this weekend's games. Obviously, the series we just talked about, Cowboys, Rangers. This is going to be a very interesting one. Obviously, Two teams with very similar records in conference play. Obviously, the one tie that Regis had, makes them 5-18-1, and the Cowboys sit at 5-19. I won't pick this game because I'll be calling this game. So I'll let you pick this one, see how you finish this one out.
Yeah, I really do feel like New Mexico Highlands has turned that corner with this last series against Adams State. I know it's just one series, but the way that they did it was impressive. Both on the mound and at the plate. Kind of like we talked about, just in all facets of the game. In the field with the way, excuse me, with the way that Baltazar, Brion, and Reyes are pitching. And Welsher, we know what he's capable of. I think New Mexico Highlands, they get this series. I'm not sure if it's going to be a sweep. I mean, Regis, I mean, Rocco Harmon, Bill Casas, you got Ethan Wood. I mean, they're a good team, but I think Highlands is going to take this one. I think they take it 3-1.
Yeah, I think the game really that's going to be really interesting to watch. Obviously, we know what Baltazar's capable of, Brion, Reyes, and Welsher. Jimmy Welsher's one of the seniors that'll be honored on Saturday. Welsher is a very good friend of mine. I spoke with him earlier this week. I mean, I can't say enough good things about Jimmy Welsher. Jimmy Welsher reminds me, and I think I've said this before, of Kyle Freeland of the Colorado Rockies. He just, hey, baseball, let's go. We're going. Hey, baseball, give me the baseball, let's go. And I think that's going to be something that is going to be interesting to watch. If this game does go 3-1, I think that, Welsher's game is going to be kind of that deciding factor. If it ends up being a split, I think that, Welsher's going to be that guy that ends up helping out the Cowboys to end this one in a split. But I definitely think that if they can get complete pitching from this entire pitching staff, it's going to be a good weekend for the Cowboys. And that takes us into our next series, Colorado Christian, Colorado School of Mines. I see this one as a 3-1 win for the Ore Diggers, but I could also see this one going split as well.
Yeah, I think Colorado School of Mines, they're coming off that tough series against UCCS. I think that they're going to be out to prove something here. Uh, I think they definitely take the series. Colorado Christian, they're playing pretty good. They had a tough road trip, over to Fort Hays. Should have had 2 out of those 3, but came away with 1 out of the 3. So I think they're going to be looking for some wins here. And obviously they're in the kind of that do or die situation. Coming into these last 2 weeks, trying to get that 6th seed into the conference tournament as well. But Colorado Mines, I think that pride was hurt a little bit, against UCCS, and they're going to be at home. I see them coming out strong. I think I can actually see Colorado Mines sweeping this series.
Yeah, I think it'll be definitely an interesting series all the way around. I think it goes 3-1. I think Colorado Christian has enough that they could get the win, at least in one of these games of this series. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, it is in Golden. Colorado School of Mines is a very good home team. That's going to be something to watch throughout the year.
Yeah, definitely. And, I know this pitching staff, Honeyman, Jackson K, they're not too happy with their performance last weekend. And I think they're going to be coming out, bringing it this series. And yeah, it's going to be a fun one to watch, no doubt. And, Colorado School Mines knows, hey, they're basically 2 wins away from clinching a spot in the conference tournament. And, I think they get that done and clinch this weekend for sure.
Yeah, this one, all these games this weekend, I feel like have really big playoff implications all weekend long. I think we're going to see, obviously, the Colorado Christian, Colorado School of Mines, the Cowboys are going to be watching that one really close. Colorado Christian is going to be watching that Regis Highlands series really close. And then the next series that we're going to talk about, Adams and CSU Pueblo, I feel like everybody's going to be watching this series really close because this one has huge playoff implications. I see this one as a Pueblo sweep in Alamosa. Why? I think this Pueblo team has finally turned that corner we've been waiting for them to turn. I think they're hungry. I think they're ready to be. They feel that they should already be in the playoffs. They're going to prove it this weekend against Adams State.
I want to agree with you. the the beginning of this season, like every weekend, except for last weekend, I'm like, hey, Pueblo's going to get it done this weekend. They're going to get it done this weekend, and they keep falling, short of that. Last weekend, I was like, you know what, uh, I keep getting burned whenever I go with Pueblo. I'm going with MSU Denver to sweep this thing, and then Pueblo goes and they take a 3-1 lead. So to benefit Pueblo, what I'm saying is an Adams State sweep. So then Pueblo's going to definitely win this series, clinch the spot in the RMAC tournament, and yeah, be on their way. But my concern is if I pick them to win the series, I'm going to jinx them because that's kind of how it seems has been happening the first half of or this entire season, with the exception of last weekend when I didn't pick them, and then they end up going 3-1. So for the benefit of the Thunderwolves, I'm picking an Adams State sweep here.
Adams State gets the sweep, is what he says, in benefit of the Thunderwolves. And that brings us to what I think is the series of the weekend. The Mountain Lions at home taking on the Roadrunners. Honestly, I want to hear what you got before I decide to make my pick because I don't know what I got yet.
Well, I was going to wait for you to make your pick. But no, this is without a doubt the series of the weekend. If wasn't for New Mexico Highlands getting that first RMAC sweep, since 21, definitely would have had a player or two on from, MSU Denver, UCCS this weekend. But, that's such a great thing for that program. And, kind of like I mentioned before, definitely, glad for Lubby and getting that series. But yeah, this is without a doubt the series of the week here. MSU Denver, I mean, basically fell to Pueblo 3-1, in that series. But UCCS, they took swept Colorado Mines. That's coming off of, them getting swept by Mesa. I think that, this one is going to be in Colorado Springs. I think that UCCS is going to take this series, but I think it's 3-1.
Ooh.
I think that the bats are more consistent on UCCS's side as of late. MSU Denver just didn't quite get it done. They're on the road. Um, sometimes losing is not a bad thing, and MSU Denver could definitely take that and carry that into this series. And UCCS coming off a sweep. With MSU Denver being as good as they are, I don't see UCCS kind of taking this game or this series lightly. But you never know. You're dealing with college kids, right? But no, I think that UCCS is going to take this one 3-1.
Okay, so that brings me to my pick. Okay, here's the thing. I could see this series going split. I really do think that ultimately is what is going to happen. Is this will be a split. But there's a factor I think in this game that might be a little overlooked by a lot of people, and that's the fact that Coach Hijic is retiring at the end of the season. The Mountain Lions want to send him off on a good note, right? I think that's going to play into effect. So I think UCCS could win the series with that. But I think ultimately this one does go a split. But these are two teams that are going to have a run in the RMAC tournament. They'll probably run into each other in the RMAC tournament, more than likely. I mean, depending on how the bracket shakes out. And obviously, we'll go over the bracket once it's officially set and how it'll all shake out. But man, I mean, yeah, I could see this going either way, but I think I'm going to go with a split on this weekend.
You can definitely see that. And that's why it's a series of the week here. I mean, two great teams. The second and third teams in conference standings. You have Jake Syverson, you have Ryder Mancuso. I mean, the matchups here are going to be, Maltos Garcia. He's had a great outing last week. This last weekend, and you have Garrett Erickson for UCCS having a great season as well. I mean, this is definitely going to be the series that everybody kind of has their eye on, along with kind of watching everybody else to kind of see how uh, the seeding may round out here. But yeah, I mean I could definitely see this being split. I mean, I could even see MSU Denver taking this one 3-1. But yeah, with it being like you said, emotional, significant, home series for UCCS, and being at home, I think kind of gives them the advantage in this one.
Yeah, and I think the other thing you look at is MSU Denver has clinched their spot in the RMAC tournament. Do they let off the gas pedal? And if they do, that's a perfect opportunity for UCCS to jump right back into the conversation. UCCS definitely feels like they should already be clinched, so they feel like they have a lot to prove. Honestly, I don't see this going any other way but a split, but I could also see both these teams winning this series. It's a series of the weekend without a doubt in my mind.
So, the other thing, just kind of thinking as I'm seeing, I'm pretty sure that this, the last weekend is MSU Denver playing and hosting Mesa. Um, right now with MSU Denver at 20-4, I mean, if they end up sweeping this series against UCCS and play Mesa, if they sweep Mesa, the conference tournament is going to be in downtown Denver. So, I mean, MSU Denver, while they've clinched, they definitely have a lot to play for here, and yeah, I think it's going to be a great series.
Absolutely agree with you 100%. Want to give a shout out to Lubby Marrujo for joining us, man. Thank you. Appreciate that, Lubby, for that. I want to thank Dean Allen for filling in for me last week. I also want to thank, is it Mr. Ritter from D2 Baseball?
Oh, Robert Fry. Sorry.
Robert Fry. Sorry, wrong. I had the wrong name in my brain. Mr. Robert Fry for joining the boys last week and giving us his insight. I appreciate that. And I want to thank Mr. RMAC Insider for giving me this opportunity to come on, talk RMAC baseball with him every week. And I mean, he does the graphics, he does the cuts of the videos, he puts all this together. So thank you, sir, for doing that.
Man, I mean, I just thank you for carrying me. You're absolute natural at this, and glad that you agreed to do it with me, and glad that you're back this week. And yeah, nice to kind of be back in that comfort zone again. I will just say one thing: if anybody out there, if you're not following D2 baseball, Robert Fry and Will Connerly, or if you're not following Inkblot, definitely go in and follow them on everything. Great social media accounts, and all things D2 baseball.
Yep. So thank you to everybody. We want to thank you for watching, and we'll see you all next week right back here on RMAC Baseball Weekly. We'll see you later.